I've had my ups and my downs.
Phelps with 10 meters left.
3 minutes too good. The crowd roaring. Freeman wins gold.
I think it's an absolutely breakthrough experience.
Welcome to the Physical Performance Show, the show designed to inspire the pursuit of your physical best performance. I'm your host, Brad Beer. Listen in as we delve into how the world's top physical performers achieve their success, as well as the highs, the lows, and the journey of getting there. Let's get ready, set, let's go. Listeners, welcome to another episode of the Physical Performance Show, the show that takes you behind the scenes of how the world's top and most inspiring physical performers achieve their success, as well as the highs and the lows of the journey in getting there. Today's show, as always, is lovingly brought to you by POGO Physio. We exist to help you perform at your physical best, and we do this through our industry-first, fixed-fee, unlimited access, 2, 6 and 12-week finish line programs. We want everyone who walks through the doors of POGO Physio to get a high-five moment when they've reached their finish line, and that means being back to their physical best so that they can do and pursue the physical things that they love. We ensure that this occurs through our fixed fees, whereby you as a health consumer can now get the treatment that you truly need and will most benefit from, as opposed to the treatment that can be financially managed under the traditional session-to-session physiotherapy approach. Our finish line programs include active rehabilitation, clinical Pilates, Galileo whole body vibration therapy, Alter-G anti-gravity treadmill running, hands-on therapy such as physiotherapy, remedial massage therapy, and podiatry. Now you can work towards a set date for the end of your rehabilitation with certainty of outcome and certainty of spend. Jump over to pogophysio.com.au to find out more about the finish line programs and also our upcoming POGO Partners launch, where we are making the finish line programs available through other states outside of Queensland here in Australia. A massive thank you to you, the faithful listener. If this is your 69th episode of the Physical Performance Show, thank you. If this is your first time tuning in, a massive welcome. And thanks to the good folk who have been leaving reviews for the show over on iTunes. iTunes reviews help the show get more audible and in more ears of people who, just like yourselves, out there seeking to pursue their physical best. And this week I just want to highlight one review coming through from Sparrow Key T. And Sparrow has rated the show 5 stars, so thank you, Sparrow Key T. And Sparrow has commented, I've never really been interested in podcasts, but I have recently started listening to the show and I'm a bit of a convert now. I really enjoy listening to the interviews while I'm out on my long training runs and find them to be really interesting and good insights to some of the most amazing athletes' mindsets. I also really enjoy the question regarding who they want to have dinner with, present or past. Got me thinking about who I want to have at my dinner table. Well, Sparrow Key T, I'm glad you enjoyed that question. I enjoy asking it because it really does, I think, tell us a lot about the personalities of the guests that we have on the show, and it's a nice bit of lighthearted fun to round out each and every episode. Listeners, if you missed last week's episode featuring Sinead Diver, Australia's fastest 40-plus female marathoner ever, be sure to jump back across and you'll really take a lot out of Sinead sharing. Her story is amazing. Having running for only 5 to 6 years and now an Australian representative, just sensational. So jump back across and tune in to Sinead Diver on the previous week's episode. Listeners, this week we're in for a real treat. Today's episode features Siggi Ragnarsson. Siggi is an athlete on a mission. Siggi hails from Iceland, that's right, cold, freezing Iceland, and Siggi's on a mission to become the first ever Icelandic triathlete in Olympic history. So Siggi is looking to make his Olympic debut in the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games, and he's certainly got things going in the right direction. Siggi comes from an elite swoon background where he was the 2010 1500 metre freestyle Icelandic champion. He's also been the 2016 Icelandic Super Sprint Triathlon Champion. And Siggi's also looking to enjoy a debut in the World Triathlon Series shortly in 2017. And I caught up with Siggi in between days of the 3-day world debut of the Super League Triathlon Series up on Hamilton Island. And Siggi won the hearts and minds of everyone that watched that race, whether it was live or through live streaming. To have Siggi going around in those incredibly trying and unbelievably hot conditions, well outside of his comfort zone in terms of the temperature, I think was just courageous. And so if you missed the Super League Triathlon Series debut on Hamilton Island, be sure to jump over and check that out. But on today's episode, Siggi talks about his journey, his dreams, and shares some really great insights into pursuing physical best performance, including sleep and lots of other great tips. So Siggi's a calculated athlete, a very intelligent one. You're going to really get a lot out of this. Let's jump straight in with Mr. Siggi Ragnarsson. So listeners, I am sitting here in the tropics of Queensland, in the Great Barrier Reef, recording this episode today here on Hamilton Island for the Super League Triathlon Series or at the Super League Triathlon Series. Day 2 was raced yesterday. We've got one more grueling day ahead, the Eliminator, Day 3 today. And joining me today, as per the introduction to this episode, is Siggi Ragnarsson. Now, there's some enunciation deficits that I have. However, Siggi can help us with that. But I've got to say, listeners, you're in for a real treat. This is a great story. And I think it's just a beautiful example of no matter where you may be in the world geographically, triathlon as a sport is now truly international. And this is going to be a great chat, one that you're going to really enjoy. So, Siggi, mate, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you.
And let's actually just debrief a little bit about the Super League Triathlon Series to start with, because you're sitting here today. We're recording this in the morning, and this afternoon you're up for round 3, kicking off in the extreme humidity. It's ridiculous, the humidity. I went running this morning, was just wet after 90 minutes. It was just incredibly intense. You guys are pushing it at 120% out there. How's it been, mate? This is Super League experience for you, Super League Triathlon experience.
Obviously coming from Iceland, it's been pretty tough. I remember walking out of the plane, even having been in Sydney for 1.5 weeks, staying at Macca's place. It was really nice. I mean, the temperature probably was a little bit cooler than here, but as soon as I walked out of the plane here in Hamilton Island, it's like hitting a wall. The humidity is just something else, and definitely not something I'm used to at home. Of course, in Iceland, it's a lot drier and not as nearly as hot as this.
So put listeners in perspective, what was the temperature when you left Iceland?
It was actually, when I left Iceland, it was the day after the most heaviest snowfall, I think, since they began measuring. They actually got 51 or 2 centimeters of snow in one night.
52
centimeters. Yeah,
that's half a meter.
Yeah, and I remember I went out for an aerobic run in that. It's sub-zero temperatures. Everyone was digging out their cars, and I was just trying to make my way through the streets, and I was running basically on the streets. So
in half a meter of fresh snow.
Yeah, sometimes it got up to my knees and my hips, basically. So
my goodness. And when you say aerobic run, how long was that run?
It was about an hour, but I didn't go very far.
Because of the ice, or because of the
yeah, because of the conditions and the snow. I mean, you can't go really fast.
So you've gone from that to. And this, to put perspective for listeners, I mean, I'm on the Gold Coast, which is a couple of 100 kilometres south of Hamilton Island, the Whitsundays.
Yeah.
And it's been a hot summer for us. I grew up in humidity.
I saw that, yeah.
My hometown. So humidity is not something that I don't do okay in. But when I got off the plane, it's the same thing. It's a punch in the face.
Yeah.
So that punch must be bigger coming from Iceland versus the Gold Coast. So it's truly incredible. Siggi, let's come back to the Super League towards the end of this interview and unpack day 1, day 2, and what you're expecting day 3, but just want to take listeners through this incredible sporting journey. So a couple of fun things first. What's one thing that scares Siggi? And that's the nickname that everyone seems to have given you here in Australia, so we'll run with that. Siggi, what's one thing that scares you?
I don't know. It's a tricky question. I guess kind of the unknown, maybe a little bit. Yeah, I think that was maybe playing a little bit with me on the first day. I mean, I'm jumping in the pool with probably most of the best guys in the world, and I was a little bit tense. But leading up to it, maybe not so much, but definitely on the pontoon, yeah. Yeah.
And so Super League scares you? Or did?
I mean, it did scare me, but a little bit, I must admit. But not anymore. I mean, on the third day, I've got the experience. It's been a lovely experience and a great learning curve. Yeah. And I'm just really happy to be here.
And Siggi, outside of sport, is there anything that puts a bit of fear in you?
No, not really, no. I don't think so. I have a phobia for spiders, but that's the only thing I think.
Do you have any in Iceland?
No, not really much.
So when you come to Australia, it's a double bit of anxiety.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're the Iceman from Iceland. That's a dad joke there. Siggi, your sporting career is quite unique, and it's just getting started in the world of triathlon in many ways.
Yeah.
1,500 metre freestyle Icelandic champion in 2010. So your background was elite level swimming in your nation, right?
Yeah. I started swimming when I was about 8 or 9 years old. I can't really remember, but I think I was about 8. And started swimming through all my school years. And got really good results, regional champion in 2009 as well. And in 2010, probably my top in swimming was Icelandic champion in 1500 freestyle. So long distance swimming was really my thing. But then I started developing what you call an asthma related to the indoor pools in Iceland. There were a lot of chlorine fumes, and I got tested and had to go on medication. It was pretty tough, and I guess you could say that my improvement in the swimming halted a little bit, and it stopped. So I lost a little bit of motivation. I needed something new, so I quit for a little bit, started running more, and soon I just got into the world of triathlon.
Siggi, so you were 19 years of age when you won that title. Up to that point, how many swim sessions were you doing a week? Were you in the water twice a day, doing the swimming grind?
Yeah, we trained a lot. I mean, we were probably in the pool, I think, 10 or 11 times a week, and doing gym session in between. So it was a lot of exposure to water, 2 times per day mostly, and 2 to 3 hours at the pool. So it was quite a lot of exposure to the water. And
what got you in the water initially?
I remember it was my friend who was going on. He was my next door neighbor, and we were going together in the school, 8 years old, just little guys, and we were always doing things together. And one time he just came to me and said, "Yeah, I just signed up for the swimming course, and won't you come with me and try it out?" And sure. And since then, it was just one-way street, I guess. So
you found an affinity for it, and you're naturally quite a swimming physique. You're a built bloke, the Iceman.
Yeah.
And Siggi, what did you get your 1,500 metre freestyle time down to?
It was probably roughly 16 minutes, I think. Just roughly 16 minutes.
So, and is there much of a swimming culture in Iceland, or was there?
Yeah, we've had some really good swimmers in the past, and obviously on the Olympics last summer as well. Eglo and Hrafnhildur the breaststroke Hrafnhildur Eygló in the backstroke, Anton Sveit McKee in breaststroke as well. He actually was my training partner a few years back. Was training. He actually, it's astounding. He went to the Olympics in Rio in 2012 for 1500 meter freestyle, but then he went to the Olympics in London in 2012 1500 meter freestyle. Sorry, and in Rio in 2016 in 100 and 200 breaststroke.
And that was your former training partner.
Yeah.
So Iceland has won Olympic medals before in any event in swimming, summer Olympic medals, I should say. Obviously, Winter Olympics are a different story.
Yeah, no, I think the closest we've gotten is the 4th place with Örn Arnarsson, the backstroker, back in the day.
Yep.
And and then of course the girls did really well this summer, but I think they will be there in 2020 definitely.
What makes you think that?
They're really determined. I believe in them, and I think they can do it.
Yeah, great. Has Iceland ever sent a triathlete to the Summer Olympic Games?
No, that will be my goal for 2020, to be the first male triathlete to go to the Olympics, and we actually have one female developing as well. So hopefully that will be. We'll be sending 2 triathletes to Tokyo.
Wow, mate! How exciting! Hey, that's terrific.
Yeah.
So Siggi. You went from the pool where you hit the chlorine and the asthma-induced stuff. You took a time out of the water, and then you've found your way back in to the water, but this time through the gateway being triathlon.
Yeah.
And how did that story unfold? How did you get your first bike, first pair of shoes on? What was your first triathlon?
I remember when I did. We were doing this. I was doing a lot of sprinting and swimming towards my end of the swim career, if you will. And I remember there were some guys doing. We have this winter aquathlon series. It's an indoor series. We swim 500 meters in the pool, and then we just run straight into the gym for a 5K treadmill run. And there were some guys there in Iceland who were always telling me like, you can run. You should definitely do this. You're a former swimmer, and you'll do well. And I just decided to sign up for the series the first time, and actually won it from the start. And so that was probably what got me going. And so I just walked straight into the next bike shop and got a sponsor. And then the first triathlon I did that summer was a super sprint. And I remember there was, when we walked out in the transition in the morning, it was actually white. There was snowing, it had been snowing during the night, and there was 0 to 1 degree temperature. But they held it nevertheless. So
where was the swim?
It was in a pool.
Okay.
It was a 400 meter swim in a pool. Then we did a 10K bike, 3 laps around the neighborhood, and then a 2-lap short run. But I remember just having difficulties taking my helmet off because my fingers were literally frozen.
So where was the transition area? Inside the pool or outside?
No, it was outside. So we had to run from the pool through like a small house and down to the transition area, barefooted in the snow. It was pretty. Wow. It was an experience.
Got any photos of that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to see those. I might try and put a photo or 2 up in the show notes.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah, sure.
Can see this. This is, and so that year was what? What was the year?
That was 2015.
So 2015.
Yeah.
And that was your first triathlon.
First triathlon, yeah.
So up until that age or stage, because at 2015 you were years of age.
20. I was turning 24 later that year.
Yep. So turning 24, 23, turning 24. At that stage, Siggi, were you even aware that an international scene existed of triathlon? Would you know the names in the sport?
Yeah, I mean, I was getting familiar with it, but I guess I hadn't really gotten into. It was later that year I got into the ITU series when I participated in the Stockholm ITU just as an age grouper.
Yep.
But I hadn't really, gotten quite into it, on an international level, following the sport and everything. I was just getting into triathlon and making my way up the list in Iceland. So
your first the Stockholm ITU race you just mentioned, Siggi, you competed in the age group category, 20 to 25 years, but you actually took the overall race win, didn't you?
Yeah. It was quite an experience. I remember the weekend really well because it was also probably the first weekend I got my what can you say, like a first setback during an international journey. I remember I was traveled there with my friend at the time, Ben, who was He's a French guy, really nice bloke, and we were training partners for 1.5 years. And I traveled there on the race was on a Sunday, and we were training on a Saturday, and I had just two wheels of tubular tires with me, and I got a flat on a Saturday. So during the warm up, so I had to walk downtown 5K to get a spare wheel, and because my wheel, my cassette had the 10 gears at it, 10 cogs, and the guys down at the harbor only had like 11. Wheels for 11 gear cassette. They had to kind of just jumble something together, and it was quite clunky. You know, the gears weren't quite working, but still, it was pretty good. I could bike. So the day after I just turned up, I wanted to do my best, put in the best swim of the day, did a really solid bike ride, and I just smashed the run and came first. Yeah, it was it was probably one of the best weekends I've ever experienced.
And at that stage, you had only had 12 months of triathlon.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'd say that
12 months. So, what was the upskilling like? I mean, going from regular swimming, obviously you're a very gifted swimmer, and a sub 2 minute 200 meter swimmer as well. I think you mentioned down.
Yeah, it's 1:55 probably.
Yeah. So in the world of triathlon, exceptional swimming, but. Obviously you carry some of that aerobic capacity over to running, but certainly in my experience with my work over the last decade as a physiotherapist, I've treated many great swimmers. Often the great swimmers just cannot transition into running; they're worlds apart. But you took to it really well. How did you get in? How do you ride around Iceland? I mean, how do you go from no triathlon to winning a race 12 months later, a significant race, and you get the K's in your legs? And how does that just practically look and work?
It's pretty tough in Iceland, especially during the winter time, because you have to train all year round I do it at least all year round on a trainer. So you're staying inside for the whole winter. And then probably during April and until October, you can go a little bit aside. But,
so a whole winter is the months of...
That's probably from October, November until March, April. It's usually that time of the year, yeah.
So you're sitting on a stationary turbo trainer that whole time?
That whole time, yeah.
And how many bike sessions were you doing? A week, I should say.
That's probably around... at this time, I wasn't doing that much, actually. I was doing probably around 4 bike sessions per week. Yep. It's gotten up to maybe 7 at this point. But, that was... it was pretty good results regarding the training. I mean, at least I think. I wasn't doing that much training.
And had you had any running through your youth? I mean, obviously you're in the pool, you're a fish.
Yeah.
But had you been doing school... Do you have cross-countries in Iceland? Like school cross-countries and things?
Yeah, there are some competitions like that, and but they're mainly during the summer. I was into athletics from young age as well. I guess until I was about 13 or 14 years old, I was always a little bit involved in running as well. So I had a little bit of base from there, at the age of probably around 21, 22, I started running a little bit more. As soon as I stopped swimming. Yep. And it was a pretty hard transition going from the swimming, because obviously it's not that much load on your ligaments when you're training in the pool. Yeah. I mean, obviously it's just when you push from the wall, basically. So I had to be really patient when transitioning into the run. Yeah. I started feeling a little niggle here and there. Yeah. I just stopped for 1 week. Yep. Just gave it a rest. Yep. Try again. Yep. So it was a pretty. I had to be really patient, and it took about 1.5 years to actually get going pretty consistently in running. So 2 questions. Did you have any promise or any natural affinity as a junior runner, or was it just the pool was clearly your strength? So you... Yeah, I mean, I guess just it was just the pool. I think I just liked it better in the swimming pool, I guess. Yep. So hence you follow your passion, right? Yeah. And in the running, so you had some niggles that you needed to manage. Any full frank injuries, or were they mainly just sore bits that you developed along the way, or did you have to have rehabilitation treatment at any point? At one point, yeah. I got the runner's knee one summer, and I had to stop running for about a month. Yep. And got some, what is it called, like these needle treatments. Yep. punctures, and just that was probably the hardest part for me because I wanted to keep on running, but you really have to listen to your body and just hold back a little bit.
Pull back, absolutely. And so, Siggi, the bike, you're on the wind trainer, you're out running through the snow. When it's not the winter months, there's no snow. Is that correct? Or there's always snow?
There's no snow during the summer, and we have usually had for the past years a really good summers actually.
In terms of no snow?
Yeah, and no snow. The temperatures mostly from 10 to 20 degrees. Yep. So that's pretty good. I mean, compared to Iceland,
Yeah. And so 10 to 20 degrees, and at that point you can get out of the off the wind trainer.
Yeah.
And for non-triathletes or non-cyclists, the wind trainer is a stationary trainer inside. You can get off that and out into the roads.
Yeah.
And I've seen some beautiful scenery shots. My father visited your homeland for a holiday probably about 2 years ago, and some of his photos were spectacular. I'm not going to try to say the names of the places he visited.
Yeah.
But looks like some beautiful rolling hills, and you'd get some good open roads for some quality bike training.
Yeah, really good. You can get a really good bike training in during the summer months in Iceland. Especially, you can choose your landscape. Really, if you want to do hills, you can do that. If you want to go flat, you can do that. Yep. There is usually a lot of wind as well, so you can have a really good, what can I say, like a training session power-wise, if you will. Yep. So if you're targeting one specific power. You don't have to go actually that fast, or the landscape isn't inhibiting you. You can just use the wind, So
there's a fair bit of wind, I imagine.
Yeah, it is. Sometimes it gets pretty calm, but usually if you're down by the seaside, you always have a little bit of breeze.
Okay, so Siggi, you then had your first elite race in the London Triathlon in August 2016. We're recording this in March 2017.
Yep.
So August 2016, your first elite race. How did that come about? Did you get an invitation to compete?
Yeah, we with my former coach in Iceland, we sent a letter to the competition. We just wanted to get experience, get me into some kind of a lead category, because we wanted really to make this transition into going to the ETU, ITU competitions. And before doing that, we wanted really, to get some experience, at least at this level. And the London Tri, we sent an email at Christmas time, probably during 2015, and we didn't get an answer until at spring 2016, and that basically an invitation to take part in the London Triathlon. So that was great, and then the training during the summer just was all about that. I also did the Hamburg ITU, but I got a flat during the competition, so that was out. So then it was just 100% focus on London Triathlon.
And how did London go for you?
Pretty good. The swim was really good. I guess I could have made a better first transition. It was probably my worst first transition I've ever done. I'm usually pretty good in transitions, but for people who don't know, when you come out of the water, I exited the water probably around 18 minutes flat for the 1500-meter swims, I was pretty satisfied. We were in a chase group, probably around 10 to 12 guys behind the first leaders, 7 to 10 guys, and as soon as I exited the water, I couldn't find my zipper on the wetsuit, and you have to put your wetsuit in a bag, because the transitioner is inside a warehouse, and they don't want people to be running there with water, all over. So they want to put the wetsuit in a bag before you go inside. So I was there looking for the zipper. Everyone's shooting past me with their wetsuit in the bags. I couldn't find mine, so eventually I found it, but when I tried to pull it, it got stuck, probably because I was too hasty or something. And then all of a sudden, I'd lost 1 minute when I went out of transition. So
where were you out of the water? You'd be in the front pack?
I was in a chase group of maybe 10 guys behind the first 7 leaders.
Yep. And so then you had the zipper malfunction, and lost a minute in transition, and went out probably very frustrated with the heart rate through the roof.
Yeah, went out pretty. I was pretty devastated with myself. And then when I was mounting the bike, I also dropped one of my shoes, so I had to go back and get it. I was just thinking, okay, this is one of those days, and I just got out alone on the bike and just waited for a group to catch up, because obviously it's a draft legal race, so you're not going to do anything alone.
Yeah. And so that, and then in the end of the run, how did all your first?
The bike was pretty good. I mean, me and this one other guy, we were doing most of the work in the pack. I was thinking, well, that's what you get if you miss your group. You know, that's you'll just have to work for it then. And the run, it got pretty hot during the run. It was probably around 27 or 8 degrees and a lot of sun. Yep. I was not used to that. Hadn't been doing any training in the heat. Yep. So the run was pretty good though. I think it was a little bit longer than 10K run. I think it was about 300 or 400 meters longer, but the final time I think about 35 or 6 minutes. So it's pretty good. Yeah,
with a longer run, heat, and you'd have a frustrating day. Yeah. So Siggi, then you get an invitation to attend, be part of the International Super League Triathlon experience, which we will come back to, but I just wanted to join the dots of your relatively short, very exciting and meteoric rise in triathlon to be here at Super League, racing literally the planet's best and arguably the all-time, greatest, certainly Olympic distance racer, Alistair Brownlee. What an incredible journey that's been. We're coming back to that. Let's take a little detour and let's do, Siggi, what I call a performance round. Okay, so I'm going to ask you some questions for some responses around your training. So the first question here, Siggi, what's the training session you most dislike?
I'd have to go with... I don't know. I'd have to go with the indoor when we do indoor trainer sessions where I have to push it really hard because it's really, really mentally tough to be alone on your trainer. Have to push it, and there's no one there to cheer you on. There's no one you can have a sort of a benchmark. So it's pretty tough mentally, and but that's probably what makes you stronger in the end, I think.
So the indoor trainer, what's the longest time you've ever ridden one for?
4 hours.
4 hours. What was that session?
That was horrible. We did, that was actually last year. We did 40 minutes of grinding efforts, 40 minutes of TT, 40 minutes grinding efforts. It was just repeated efforts like that. And for 4 hours, it was pretty tough.
By yourself?
No, we were actually in a group by then. So it was a little bit better. But still, it was horrible.
What's the training session you most love?
I would guess I really like the pool. So I guess doing speed work in the pool, I really like that. Explosive efforts. I guess I'm that kind of a guy. But since I started running on the indoor track with a few other guys who were doing mainly 1,500 and 3,800 meters efforts, they're really fast runners. I really like being pushed by them, and I guess I'd have to go with that sessions.
Track sessions?
Track sessions indoor with the guys who are doing mainly faster sessions.
And they'd be some of the Iceland's premier runners?
Yeah.
And Siggi, on that, how many times a week are you, just out of interest, side note, in the track, inside the indoor track?
Before this competition, only once, but... I guess during the summer I might do it more often, yeah.
Yeah, okay, like a couple times a week.
Yeah, a couple times a week. Probably.
Siggi, what's your favourite pre-race meal?
Ooh. I'd have to go with... I have a breakfast every morning before the race. I like to keep things the same, so I don't get my body into some kind of discomfort or anything. I'm used to the same things. So for the past... weeks I've been having the same breakfast, and I really like to have a gluten-free toast with poached eggs.
Gluten-free toast with poached eggs are easy. And your bedtime, now this is a big topic. We're going to unpack this because I know we've had some conversations offline about sleep, and we should go there in tandem with this. So bedtime, rise time. You are very strategic around your sleeping hygiene. Yeah. So take us through a little bit of that journey for you, Siggi.
Yeah, sure. I'm pretty much of I like to be very specific with all the details in my life, and I read a lot of books about recovery, nutrition, and whatever that is helping me in becoming a better athlete. And for the last few months, I've been reading a lot of stuff from a guy called Nick Littlehales, and he is what you call a sleep doctor, if you will. Yep. And What this is, you think about your sleep and recovery in a different way. You really don't count the hours you're sleeping per night, but you rather count it in 90-minute cycles you get in per night. So it's really another method of getting the recovery you need. So for me, it's optimal to get 5 cycles in per night. So if you want to think about it in hours, it's 7.5 hours of sleep per night. But then I want also to get in at least half an hour and up to 90 minutes recovery cycle during the day. This doesn't have to be a sleep necessarily, just a shutdown period where you don't think about anything. It's just basically emptying your mind. And what this does is that it really lets you in control of your sleeping routines. And for example, normally when I was just counting the hours, I wanted to get 8 hours in per night. I wanted, I was getting stressed when we were at dinner parties. I wanted to go home because I had a morning session the day after in the pool, and then I was always, counting the hours down to the sleep and getting nervous about going to sleep later that evening because I had been staying up late. So, that's not good because you're getting stressed about something that's maybe out of your control. And what this method does is that it lets you in control again, because if you miss your normal sleeping time, you just take the next 90-minute cycle. So instead of getting 5 cycles per night, that night I get maybe 4 or even 3. But then I have to make it up sometimes during the weeks, But it really helps you, and that's the thing as well. I have a constant waking time, so every morning I wake up at 6:30 in Iceland. I go to training and then go to work, but that also means that I have a constant sleep time at 11 p.m. And when I go to sleep, I have been 90 minutes without any laptops and cell phones, because the blue ambient light from these devices really messes with your melatonin secretion.
Absolutely. Siggi, that's a great recap for me in terms of the importance of sleep hygiene. I've been quite interested in this space for a while, and I have to say this is one of those health practitioner segues where I don't practice what I know is the gold standard at the moment. I've got a beautiful little newborn in the house, and so sleep feels like it's just not happening at the moment.
No.
But that's just stages of life that we all cycle through. But in terms of as an athlete, it's so refreshing to speak to someone, to meet an athlete who understands that sleep is performance enhancing. It is critical, and so the fact that you're so attuned to that this speaks volumes, obviously, of your attention to detail, but also the importance of this is what this show is about. This program's about optimizing people's physical performance, pursuing your best. And the irony is, I find with athletes, all the time goes into the training. Nutrition's obviously gets a big play there as well. But the most potentially enhancing agent of all is sleep, and it's not often done well. So, and there's been some quite famous work done at the AIS about sleep hygiene and how athletes were getting on average. They did one study about 6 hours, and it was just far not enough. And the cycles is fascinating. So, what are 3 tips just on sleep, Siggi? If people are listening, age group athletes, anyone that's out there just trying to pursue their physical best, what would be the first 3 practical tips Siggi would share with them around, without reading the work that you reference there? And we'll link that up in the show notes, listeners. The book it's a book, isn't it, written by the sleep physician, the doctor?
Yeah, Nick Littlehouse.
Yep. So we'll link that up. What would be 3 tips that they could immediately apply? One, you've already said, switch off devices 90 minutes before bedtime to help the melatonin.
Yeah.
Number 2 would be
find a constant waking time. Really, something that suits your daily life. Something you can apply every day. You're gonna wake up like this during the weekends as well. Yep. Saturday, Sunday. It doesn't matter what day it is.
Opposed to the big sleep in.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. It's because your body will get into rhythm, and you'll feel much better once you're into it. And the first one, get rid of the cell phones, get a constant waking time, and the last one probably try to get recovery periods in per each day, because they're really important, and try to get these 5 cycles per night.
And through the day, you mentioned it's not always necessarily a day's sleep or a nap. It can just be downtime.
You don't have to actually go to sleep. You just have to shut up for a moment. Just rest the mind, because that really helps.
What's the minimum time you can do for that day nap from your research?
That's probably you can do it for 15 minutes, but half an hour probably optimal.
Yep. And I picked something up there, Siggi, which you said off you go to work. Are you working as well as training, or are you full time with your training now? That's probably where I differ from the athletes here in Super League, because I'm training 25 hours a week. That's probably the most I can do at this point, because I work 40 hours a week as well, 100% job, and I'm finishing a master's degree in engineering. So it's a pretty high load during the week, and a lot of time management, but I'm managing so far. So Siggi, that's extraordinary, and I knew you're already a graduated engineer, aren't you? Yeah, and that's been your work for some time.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many years have you been working as an engineer for?
Actually, I'm only started during this January, and I have a 6-year contract now. So I'm gonna really think about my future after this summer, and I really think about I'm gonna take the step into doing being a triathlete as a professional.
Yeah. Okay, so wow, but you've been juggling the training load plus the workload plus a master's for how many, a year or two now?
Yeah, probably a year and a half, but really have been working now for probably around 3 months, 100%.
Yep. Okay, and while you've been here in Australia, because you were down at previous guest of the program here, Chris McCormack's house in Cronulla there, you were having a study. Did you have any study? Have you brought any study with you? I look around your hotel room here. I can't see any papers.
No, I have my laptop with me. I've been reading a little bit. I have to read an application I have to get familiar with for a project we're doing at work, and also writing up a little bit about my master study. So it's mainly in the laptop.
It doesn't stop. No. Back on the performance round, Siggi, who's the athlete that you most admire and why?
It's tough. It's tough. I mean, all these guys here are really great athletes, but I'd have to say probably now Javier Gomez. He's just phenomenal. I mean, he's taking a step into 70.3. He wins a race in Dubai. He comes back into the ITU. He wins the race there. He's a phenomenal all-around athlete. I stayed with him for a week at Macca's Place in Sydney and got to know him as a guy, and he's just a really, really nice guy as well. So, yeah.
And so for listeners, this is Javier Gomez, who is, one of the most known triathletes on the planet. And Siggi, prior to staying inadvertently with Javier at Chris McCormack's house pre-Super League, you obviously knew of him, admired him, and to get to spend some time with him, to meet them, understand the man himself, sometimes that can detract from the perception you have of someone, but obviously this added it and it's taken it to a new level.
Yeah, definitely. It's just you get a whole new look at the person, and you normally look at these guys from outside, but getting to know the guys as well is just phenomenal. And for me, getting to know him was just a great experience, and getting some training sessions in with him as well was just on a whole new level. I mean,
and what was one insight you picked up through training with Javier through the week?
Probably I got a lot of kind of I got a new sight on what I have to do for the next 3 years. Obviously, my target is going to the Olympics for Iceland in 2020 in Tokyo, and I just saw really what I need to do in terms of training to get me to the level.
So you got to spend the week with Javier, as we've shared there at Chris McCormack Macca's house pre-Super League. What was one thing through that week, Siggi, that was unexpected or maybe a bit fun in terms of getting to know the man behind the athlete, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, we did a maybe unexpected was I thought maybe they were doing would be doing a little bit more speed work towards the competition. But as I talked to his coach, I mean, they were just doing a little bit of rest because obviously I'd been doing the ITU the weekend before and doing 70.3 Dubai a little bit earlier. And the training really was on an easier level than I thought it would be for this event. But then they picked up the speed a little bit towards the last few days. But that was probably on some kind of unexpected for me, because I thought maybe they would be doing a little bit more load. But I guess that's already done in the winter base season.
Yep. So you thought the pace would be on even more?
Yeah, that was maybe what I was expecting. But then we did a couple of sessions in the pool, and when he really went for it, that was phenomenal.
So and out running, I mean, you went for a 19k aerobic run with Javier too, right, through the national park.
Yeah, we were gonna do. I had 50 minutes on my schedule, so I wanted to run with him for the first 25 minutes and then turn back. He had I think 1 hour 10 minutes, and he was gonna do some strides as well. But yeah, we started doing aerobic run. I was just following him because it was his session. So I mean, aerobic for him, but it was probably high aerobic for me in best case. And in the end, he ended up doing almost 19.5k in 1 hour 10 minutes. It was amazing, and and he was just feeling pretty good afterwards.
Yeah, wow, what an athlete, hey?
Yeah.
And so Siggi, the toughest competitor you've ever raced, who would that be?
Oh, all of the guys here today, probably.
Yeah. We're going to go to that. You've got a Gomez, Javier, you've got Richard Murray, Alistair Brownlee, Mario Mola, you know,
all these guys. I mean,
young Australians, the best of the best.
Yeah, the Australians here are doing a really, really good job. I think they're keeping up with the best in the field. Obviously, Murray is he's in a special category at this point here in the competition. He's been just absolutely smashing it. But I'm really impressed with the young Australian guys and the two youngsters that have been here, the Daniel Hoy and Matt Hauser.
Yeah.
They have been really performing well.
Yeah, they've really they've done what they were granted the opportunity to do, which is to get in and make the most of it, haven't they? Is there a mantra that you use when you race? Something that you recite through your...
Yeah, just go hard, but still be conservative to be able to give it your absolute best at the end of the day. But still, yeah, just don't give up and be sure that when you finish, you have given your absolute best.
What's your best recovery tip outside of sleep?
I've been doing a lot of ice baths after each competition here, and I guess that would be probably what I would recommend as well. It really helps with the recovery, I think, just to make a switch between cold and hot a few times. And I tried doing that. I did 5 times 3 minutes after the time trial yesterday, for example, and it really helped my feet recover, and I felt the lactate really flushing out.
So you did 5 lots of 3 minutes in the ice, or alternating?
Yeah, in the ice, and then 2 minutes in the hot shower, and then again in the ice. So
yep, finishing on the ice.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice to finish the other way around?
Yeah.
Siggi, what's one word you'd use to describe your racing style? One word.
Tactical.
Tactical. How would you describe being in the zone?
I would say probably hard. It's probably what I would say, yeah.
When was the last time you were in the zone?
That was yesterday. I was really pushing it on the last swim, even though I kind of knew we wouldn't make the cutoff. Obviously, we were starting 49 seconds behind the other guys, but I was really pushing it. I was redlining towards the end. I really wanted to see if I could make it, but the clock was just ticked the 1 minute when I went to the transition, so it was a little bit too late.
It was close.
It was really close, but I was conserving maybe a little bit on the first swim on the run, yep, just in case I would make it onto the bike, and then I would be able to push it a little bit more there.
Yep.
But in the end, it wasn't enough.
Yeah, and for listeners, Siggi's referring to race 2. The equaliser of the Super League Triathlon Series. There was a 1 minute cut-off penalty, if you like, or
Yeah.
a deadline if you weren't through transition. It was very close, and so that meant, you know, it's brutal racing. It's cutthroat. If you haven't made that time, you know, you're out. And that was for an accrued deficit through the time trial in the morning, which for listeners, check it all out on Super League. Jump over and we'll put the link in the show notes, and you can view that on YouTube or also online with the streaming. It was this fascinating racing up this time trial in the morning.
Yeah.
But actually, just on that, give listeners an understanding and appreciation of what that time trial involved. So for listeners that aren't aware of cycling, you know, time trial, we're talking about on the bike. What did the time trial involve, Siggi?
Yeah, we woke up at 4 a.m. in the morning to go out to the airfield. We had a little bit of snacks before we went out, and then we were escorted to the airport, and we were starting based on our finishing positions the day earlier. So the guys who were finishing the last, they started the first, and then it went all the way back to the first finisher from the day before. And we started doing back and forth efforts on the airfield for probably around 3 to 4 kilometers. But the last 1.5 kilometer was just straight up. It's called One Tree Hill here in Hamilton Island. And it's actually the highest point you can go on the island on a road. And it's just a 1.5k of hill. And the most gradient you actually get is 24% towards the end. So it's a brutal effort, and it was really, really hard towards the end. I was absolutely smashing it towards the last point of the hill, but probably just didn't have enough power in my legs. And maybe it would have been better to be on a time trial bike. I don't know, but the guys who were on the TT bikes were posting some pretty impressive times as well. But it was. And then you started in the afternoon with a time deficit from the winner this morning. I was 49 seconds back, so it was a little bit hard. I mean, to begin the swim, run, swim in the afternoon with that, you know, on your back. You know, 49 seconds, you only have 11 seconds until the cutoff, so you cannot lose any time. But it was just probably too much of a time deficit.
And listeners, I mean, it was the most spectacular bike leg I've ever seen in a triathlon. I think I would have loved that to have existed in my junior triathlon days. I love the bike, but from a pancake flat runway, the airstrip here in with Sundays, Hamilton Island, literally 0 meters of elevation. Out of that, straight up into this brutal climb that Siggi was referring to there. Siggi, what's just the last question on the performance around here? What's the silliest thing you've ever done managing an injury?
That's probably, I don't know. I tried to run through an injury once, and that was not a good idea.
Tell us about that.
That was actually when I got the runner's knee. So I was starting to feel a little bit of pain. I thought it would be okay, and we knew normally when I was running, it would get better during the training. So once I did like a really long run on Sunday, and the day after was just horrible. I really had to go through a physiotherapist. So that's probably at the point I said, well, I'm never doing this again. So
you learn.
You
learn. Siggi, what's on your bucket list? Obviously, sport, the big one, the focus is Tokyo 2020, Summer Olympic Games, looking to be Iceland's first triathlete to represent the nation. And to put listeners in perspective, the nation in size is, in terms of population,
we're around 360,000, I think, at this point.
So you'd be the first Icelandic triathlete to represent. That's the goal. That's the dream.
Yeah.
And outside of that, is there anything else at this stage that lives in Siggi's triathlon bucket list?
I mean, I really want to do a 70.3 race at one point as well. I mean, obviously I need to do ITU races, so that's on my bucket list as well, ETU races. I just want to get the racing experience in there as well, because obviously for the last 2 years I haven't had much of experience in international racing. So this is, for Super League, this is probably like jumping in a pool full of sharks, but it's been a good learning curve, and And yeah, I think going on from now is going to be a little bit easier, because every competition from now on is going to have, if you will, an easier field to it than this one.
You started at the very... and as the commentary team here have said, arguably this is the greatest triathlon field ever assembled, because you do not get the world's greatest Ironman athletes like Brent McMahon and, Terenzo Bozzoni, who, will race it for 8 hours a day. You do not get them lining up with the likes of Gomez and Brownlee and Moeller. It just doesn't happen.
No.
So you've literally, all worlds, you've jumped into the melting pot. Siggi, on your bucket list outside of sport, what does that look like?
Outside of sport, I've always wanted to go visit somewhere in the States, I think. Visiting Australia was on my bucket list, so that's done.
And what a way to do it, hey? With Sundays too.
Yeah. And
the pain and the pleasure.
I have to do one helicopter ride at some point, but I guess that might come sometime soon. I don't know.
Maybe you get one here on the island.
Yeah.
Siggi, what's one bit of training advice you'd give to listeners who are looking to perform at their physical best? So that can just be one bit of advice that you've learnt through your swimming career, now emerging triathlon career. If you could boil it down to one thing, what would you like to share?
Take your recovery sessions seriously. That's you always like to push hard, but when it's recovery, it should be recovery. And that is probably what I learned as well in my swimming career, because I was always pushing it pretty hard, and I was always pushing myself. So it's important to push yourself, but it's also important to recognize that when you should be recovering, you should be taking it a little bit more easy, and the body needs to recover to be able to get better. So that's probably what I would recommend. Yeah.
Brilliant. Fun question. If you could have dinner with 3 people, who would be at that table and why? Can be living or past.
Ooh. I'd have to go with. I'm really. This is gonna be sound. Yeah, it's not related to sport, but as a musical fan, I would have to go with Trio and Rush. I'm a really big fan.
Who put me in the picture? Who is that?
That's drummer Neil Peart, bassist Geddy Lee, and a guitarist Alex Lifeson.
So you'd put the whole band at the table?
Yeah.
Wow, mate. So this band, where are they from? Iceland?
Canada.
Canada.
Yeah.
So what are they called?
Rush.
Rush. Sorry. Yeah. Now I may be showing my musical ignorance. I'm a big music fan, but the only thing I'm listening to these days is the songs that my 3.5-year-old wants to hear. So, so maybe I've missed the boat. But mate, well there you go. You've filled the table with musicians. So do you play music yourself, or you just like to listen to it?
I really like to listen to it. I played the clarinet for probably 8 or 9 years, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We've got that in common. And got in common that we played it, but I think I got too frustrated maybe after about 12 months and went running instead. I have a theory that athletes can't sing. Can you sing?
No, I can't.
Thanks for keeping the theory alive. Siggi, last question, mate. If you could issue listeners with one physical challenge for the week, it can be very entry level or it can be extremely off the chart, like jumping into Super League. What would the physical challenge for the week be?
Try to beat my record in push-ups, 251.
251 push-ups in a row.
Yeah.
In a row.
Yeah.
Let's pause on that. When did you set this record?
It was pretty long time ago. I was much lighter than today. I was probably around 15 years old. 15.
Yeah. So you had the power to weight ratio down.
Yeah.
Had you been building up to this record attempt?
Nah, not really. I was always. I mean, I was a lot into swimming. And always had great body strength compared to my weight. So at one point we were having this competition at the gym, and I just pushed it.
So that's incredible. And how long did that take you? Because you can put out about,
It was probably several minutes.
Several minutes, yeah. And have you got any ambition to better that?
No, not really at this point. No, I have to get smaller on my chest and my hands. So
as a physiotherapist, knowing a little bit about your frame, we've spent a little bit of time working together here at the event and even slightly pre-event. I wouldn't suggest you go and try and better that record, Siggi. Only reason being, it puts a lot of load on things.
Yeah.
Former guest of the program, for your interest, is an Australian surf lifesaver. They're quite prolific brothers in the world of surf lifesaving, Shannon and Kane Kane Eckstein. And Kane Eckstein last year set the world 24-hour pull-up record, did 7,621, I think.
Wow.
4 pull-ups in 24 hours, 6 per minute on the bar, and then he did that for 18 hours without any break, and then he went to 4 pull-ups per minute for the last 4 or 6 hours. Incredible. So
incredible.
Don't go get any ideas.
No.
And listeners, if you missed Kane Eckstein, unpack that. That's a previous episode. You can go back and have a look through that on the show feed there on your device. Siggi, I think what actually yesterday in transition in the medical tent gave me goosebumps. Actually, was the crowd support when the clock was ticking for this eliminator, and how quickly everyone's just warmed to you. I think the story that you've got, the fact that this is such a 180-degree environment for you, the way you conduct yourself, you're very well spoken and popular. I think, mate, it's just been really exciting to see, and certainly it's been a pleasure for me to get a bit of an insight into your world, and I know listeners will really enjoy this episode as well. Where can we find you on social media? We'll put this in the show notes, listeners, so don't panic if you don't get the letters right. But we can find you on social, right?
Yeah. I have a Facebook page, Siggi Ragnarsson Triathlete, and I'm on Instagram as well. It's my first name, Sigurdur Ragnars Tri, so it's probably better to just put that into the description.
We'll put that in the show notes.
But then I have the home site as well, siggiragnarsson.com. So
we'll link all those up, listeners. And I would love to catch up en route to Tokyo 2020. I think listeners would really enjoy this. It's a little bit, very different, so it's not. That's why I mentioned a little bit but the Eddie the Eagle story of representing his nation for the first time. I think there's such a beauty in that about going through that metamorphosis, taking new ground, and as a triathlon fan myself, and certainly it was my love sport growing up. I think it's a beautiful thing to see that the sport is now no longer just about Australia and America, and it's truly, truly international. And good luck this afternoon. All the very best, I should say. It's not about luck. All the very best this afternoon with race 3, the Eliminator. Mate, go out there and shake it up. And what are you expecting this afternoon?
I'm just gonna start the swim. See how the field is. Obviously, everyone is really tired after the 2 days of racing, and this is the 3rd day. It's gonna be 3 rounds, so the guys are probably gonna be going hard out, but not full on. But still, I think there's going to be plenty of tactics in this race because they want to eliminate. I think most of the guys want to eliminate Murray because he is the all-time favorite now, and he will walk away with a victory in this race. I think if they don't manage to shake him on the bike, but it's gonna be interesting. I'm just gonna be trying to survive the bike leg in the first round, and if I do that, I can put on a show in the run, I think. But we'll see.
Because and to put listeners in perspective, this afternoon Siggi's got it's an eliminator. Describe for listeners what this afternoon looks like.
Yeah, so we have 3 rounds of racing. It's all gonna be just a normal triathlon, the standard swim, bike, run. It's not gonna be mixed up like on the first day, but we're gonna be having. The same format, 300-meter swim, 6K bike, and a 2-kilometer run. 10 minutes break in between each round. From the first round, the last guys in places 16 to 24 are going to be eliminated. The last 15 are going into the second round, and then the last 10 guys are going to be competing in the last round.
And that's the round 3, and then the overall series champion will be crowned off the back of that. So Siggi, go out there, give it everything you got, which is I think what everyone knows you do, and that's part of the appeal that you've brought to the sport and to this event. So Siggi, thanks for having me in your hotel room. And listeners, I've seen the ice bath. It does exist. The bath's been filled with ice, and it's certainly one of the neatest athletes' rooms I've ever visited. So mate, it speaks to your attention to detail, Siggi, that you mentioned before. So Siggi, it's been an absolute pleasure. All the best, mate, and we'll follow this journey with great interest.
Cheers, mate. It's been a pleasure.
So So, there you have it. Another episode of the Physical Performance Show. I trust you enjoyed Siggy's sharings. If you did, be sure to jump over to the show notes. You'll find the social media handles for both myself and Siggy, and let us know. Drop us a message and let us know what your number one takeaway was from the episode, and also anything else that was of interest. It means the world to both Siggy and myself to know that sharing what we do reaches people and has a positive impact. A massive thank you to the two good folk who make this show possible each and every week, and that is Susan Wilkin, show's VA, and also Daryl Misson, audio engineer. Thank you very much, guys. We appreciate it, all the good work that you do. If you'd like to get the Physical Performance Show inside your app each and every week, be sure to hit subscribe from within iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, whatever it may be, and the show will automatically populate. If you enjoyed today and you know someone that may also benefit from the learnings or be entertained, please share it from your smartphone. Simply hit share and tag it around. That would mean the world to myself, would also mean the world to Siggy, and it's a great way for the Physical Performance Show to get into more earbuds. Lastly, if you're into running, you can now, or triathlon, you can now pick up your copy of my Amazon running and jogging bestseller, You Can Run Pain Free. It's available on Audible or iBooks, and also on the Kindle digital versions through Amazon, and of course the good old trusty paperback version, 330 plus pages, via Amazon, shipping internationally, or POGO Physio domestically inside Australia. Coming up on next week's episode of the Physical Performance Show, I keep the triathlon theme going, and I catch up with Sam Appleton. Sam has a long string of 70.3 victories around the world and is shaping up for the World 2017 70.3 Triathlon Championships as a real contender. Sam finished 5th in the 2016 World 70.3 Triathlon Championships, and along Sam's journey he has taken the scalps of some of the sport's biggest names, such as Craig Alexander or Crowe. So be sure to tune in next week for this great young athlete's keen insights, Sam Appleton. Until then, keep pursuing your physical best performance. I'm Brad Beer, and this has been the Physical Performance Show.